Hi, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me. It looks like we might just wait a couple of minutes for, okay, I see people are joining us right now. So we'll just give it another minute or two for people to sign on, and then we'll begin our event of the evening, the town hall. Okay, well, it looks like we have a pretty good group assembled, and you know that everybody's time is valuable these days. So I want to say hello. I'm Sherry Briller. Some of you know me. I'm a white woman with curly dark hair, getting bigger every day. And my pronouns are she and her, and I'm the current president of the SfAA. And I'd like to welcome you to our second town hall event. We had one earlier this week. I wasn't able to be there, but I heard it was tremendously successful. And it's a really great chance for you to hear some information about the new features we're going to have in the meeting. If you know the saying, a change will do you good, we think that's true. And I'm going to turn it over to the presenter so you can learn more about the new meeting format. I guess just before doing that and turning it over to the moderator, I just really like to thank Michael Paoliso, who's the incoming president of the SfAA and who's been heading up the meetings working group, as well as Neil Han and Melissa Cope and Trish Colvin in the SfAA office, and some other folks who've all done a tremendous amount of work in helping us with the new hybrid meeting format. So welcome everybody, and we hope you'll ask questions and learn about what we're going to be doing, and we're looking forward to seeing you this spring at the hybrid meeting. With no further ado, I'll turn it over to Jeremy Trombley, who's our moderator tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. As she mentioned, my name is Jeremy Trombley. My pronouns are he, his. I'm a white male. I'm sitting in my home office with a blank yellow background and a door behind me. I'm currently a postdoc at the University of Oregon, and I'm going to be moderating the town hall tonight, which basically means that I'll be facilitating the Q&A session at the end. But before I do that, before we get into that, I just want to go over some of the format and tell you what you can expect from the town hall tonight. So first of all, closed captioning is available. I wanted to let you know in case you're interested in using that function. So if you go to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see an option for closed captioning, and you can toggle that on and off as needed. So second, I want to point out that the meeting will be recorded. You should have gotten a notification when you logged in. And we're going to record it so that we can post it to the SfAA website for those people who aren't able to attend synchronously, so that they can get the information as well. That said, attendee webcams and audio are muted, and the chat is disabled. So the presenters, the panelists, are the only ones who are going to show up in that video. Also, in addition to that, I will not use names when I pose questions with the Q&A session, just to maintain some degree of anonymity here. We are asking that you keep your questions and post your questions in the comments in the Q&A dialog box, which is also available at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So you can open up that dialog box and type in your questions as needed. You can make your questions anonymous if you choose. There's a little tick box in the dialog box when it opens that you should be able to check, and that will make your question anonymous so that we won't be able to see your names. But like I said, I'm not going to use any names or identifying information in the Q&A. So panelists will be presenting their plan before the Q&A, so they're going to take a few minutes to do those presentations. We ask that you hold your questions until after the panelists have a chance to present. And then once that presentation is done, I will take your questions and feedback. I'll read them in the order that they are received and direct them to the panelists as needed. So that's what you can expect today. I'm going to turn it over to Michael to introduce the panelists and get us started.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Paoliso. I'm a white male, brown-haired, black-rimmed glasses. I have a blue shirt on, and I'm sitting at home in my study where I've been sitting for a number of months now. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am the president-elect of the Society for Applied Anthropology and have the privilege of working closely with and being tutored by Sherry on how to assume these great responsibilities. I'm also a professor of anthropology at the University of Maryland, where I practice and teach environmental anthropology. Sherry mentioned since May, it has been my great privilege to lead a working group, including the panelists on this call here, to help the SfAA develop online meetings to help our society meet its mission. And that includes annual meetings, town halls like this, workshops, webinars, etc. I do also want to thank Mark Edberg, the program chair for the Norfolk annual meeting, and all of my colleagues who have worked on helping to put together this town hall. Monday was our first, this is our second town hall, so we're on a roll here. Let me talk briefly about the hybrid Norfolk 2021 meeting. It's clear to everyone that this is not a normal year to plan a meeting, particularly an annual meeting. We've got lots of things we have to consider: our members' needs and health, organizational needs. There's tremendous uncertainty, the coronavirus, stress and hardship, racial justice needs that we have to attend to and should attend to, and much, much more. Our annual meetings are scheduled years in advance. In fact, I believe they're scheduled out to around 2026. So the Norfolk meeting as a site, Norfolk, Virginia, was scheduled some years ago, and we have a contract with the hotel there for that meeting. This year, we cannot count on being able to meet on site in Norfolk. It is still our hope that we'll be able to have some of our meeting on site in Norfolk, but it's not guaranteed. As a result, we developed this hybrid model to integrate on site with online participations. So our annual meeting this year will run about 3 weeks from March 16th until April 2nd. It'll begin 1 week online, 1 week, a middle week on site and online, and then the final week online. The on-site component of the meeting will be that middle week, and that'll begin on March 23rd with local day and conclude on Saturday, March 27th. And that's our traditional schedule. So we'll place a significant number of the Norfolk on-site sessions online. The online component of Norfolk and the Norfolk component and all of our online component sessions will have networking and social media linkages, and you're going to hear more about that from Kira today. Excluding workshops, we're going to archive the sessions, online sessions that we have. And finally, in the event that due to COVID, we are forced not to hold the on-site meeting, then we will work with on-site presenters to move their materials online. So we have we think a fluid and flexible hybrid model for our annual meeting that will allow people to participate in various ways in a manner that's safe and comfortable for them. So without any more discussion of that, I'm happy to answer questions later on. I'm going to turn it over to Mark Edberg, our program chair, to talk about the program.
How you doing? And thank you for participating. I'm Mark Edberg. I am a Caucasian male with kind of sandy hair and dark-rimmed glasses, also sitting in my office with a bookshelf in the background, which is a very common setting these days. I am a professor at George Washington University in the Public Health School, the Milken Institute School of Public Health, and also in the Anthropology Department and the Elliott School of Foreign Affairs. So a few hats there. And I'm just going to say a few words about the program. You have undoubtedly seen the theme already, linking social, cultural, and physical ecologies. And I just want to say, even though we may not have any of or much of the meeting actually at Norfolk, the theme in some ways came out of, you know, just sort of scoping out Norfolk as a place where there are so many linkages, and there, you know, you have the military base. There's a shipping, a very large shipping industry there. You have 1619 descendant communities. You've got Native American communities, coastal fishing communities affected by climate change, tourism. All these sorts of things kind of interact in this place. And in some ways, the theme grew out of that. And we have been getting a lot of interest, and some interesting activities and sessions look like they're emerging. We may have some critical conversations, for example, about the census. There's going to be a lot of interest regarding frontline workers, frontline COVID workers, a lot of climate change and disaster related interest is happening. And because of the online format, and this is one of the interesting sort of experiments that will happen this time, is that we are likely to get a lot more global participation than we would otherwise. So having this hybrid format means that people who may not have been able to participate in the meeting, even in the best of circumstances, may be able to this time. So that is something to take advantage of. And then you will be hearing, you know, more as some of the sort of local day activities emerge, but we've got some exciting possibilities with, there's a historic Fort Monroe there. And even if we don't have the on-site component to the meeting, there will be virtual tours of some of these sites. There are a number of historically Black colleges and universities in the area, and some of them have started to express interest in sessions and around, you know, linking, for example, the 1619 communities and the history associated with it with social justice and other issues. So lots of good stuff there. So make sure you get your submissions in by October 15th, and encourage any and all other people, faculty, students, practitioners, etc., to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'd like to pass it over to Rebecca Long. Rebecca's a member of our meeting working group, and she's going to talk about accessibility issues and practices that we hope to develop.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Eli Long. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a disability anthropologist with a background most recently in Appalachian studies. As an image description, I'm a light-skinned person with dark brown hair and dark-rimmed reading glasses, sitting in front of a pretty bland wall with some pen and ink drawings tacked up behind me to make things a tad more interesting. I'm currently a PhD student at Purdue University in the Department of Anthropology in the Center on Aging in the Life course. I've been working with this working group to leverage the possibilities of online space for increased accessibility, without assuming that online space is inherently more accessible or that we won't need to adjust practices to fit a hybrid or virtual format. We have been collaborating with some of our members, as well as members from the Society for Disability Studies and Nell, the accessibility coordinator with SfAA. So a few specific projects we are working on has been making sure that our online option is robust and offers our members who cannot or do not want to travel, making sure that we can still have a valuable experience. We've been developing a program that builds in pre-recorded and on-demand programming to facilitate access across time zones, and in recognition that many of our members who are attending from home will have caregiving, teaching, and other responsibilities at the same time that they are trying to conference. We've been creating guidelines for both technical access and general presentation accessibility to make sure that our content can be viewed and enjoyed by as many of our members as possible. We're working on messaging to get some of this information out to our membership in the coming weeks and to express SfAA's organizational commitment to accessibility. And we've also been creating opportunities such as these town halls to get member feedback and collaboration. So I will pass it back to Michael.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now I'm going to pass it over to Kira Collins, who's been working with us and leading our effort in developing the online platform for the meeting.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Kira Collins. I am a white woman with blonde hair. I don't have a study or an office, so I'm sitting in my makeshift one at home. Various photographs and knickknacks are behind me. I use she, her pronouns, and my role with the SfAA working group has been to examine some of the online platforms that we've been considering for Norfolk 2021, both for a hybrid model as well as a fully online model in the event that we need to move fully online. So I'd like to just briefly review some of the decision making that went into our process, and then quickly show you the actual software that we're planning to use, and then answer any questions that you may have beyond that. So two key things in our decision for finding an online platform that would facilitate our meeting would be that it was accessible, meaning that it would facilitate various accessibility technologies, as sort of Rebecca mentioned, as well as the ability to facilitate a hybrid meeting. And so the software that we've chosen facilitates both live streaming, pre-recorded, and physically, like in-person activities, facilitates that hybrid event. It also facilitates what's called semi-live events, where there's a pre-recorded presentation that's accompanied by a live Q&A or a live chat session with the presenter. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of sessions we'll be able to accommodate. It's also accessible on desktop, laptop, and phone, as well as iPad. So a lot of different options for being able to access the software, as well as multiple sessions can run at the same time. So in the event that we do need to push everything online for Norfolk 2021, we'll have pretty good flexibility in terms of the times that sessions can be offered, how many sessions can be offered at a time, as well as there's a great multitasking component with the platform. So while you're watching a session, you can also network, you can communicate with others in the portal, you can create out your agenda, lots of flexibility within that. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and briefly show you that software. I'm going to share my screen. And can you guys see that? Wonderful. So we have decided to go with Hoova online platform software, and I'm going to briefly walk you through sort of a demo meeting that we've set up. So when you do log into the software, we'll be sending out logins about a month or two in advance. You'll have the ability to create your online sort of profile, a profile page, a short bio, as well as your interests, which will allow you to network with other members. And the networking as well as your profile are fully, accommodates privacy. So if you would like to be involved in the networking, you can. If you prefer not to be searchable by other members, you can also opt out of that. So once you create your profile, you'll be in this general meeting space. So here we have some Norfolk information, a welcome message. And the thing here that's great about the hybrid meeting is we'd be able to see the in-person location. So if you're offsite, but you want to engage with in-person people, you have a little bit of that ability. Beyond the homepage, we have our agenda. And the agenda will accommodate both of the in-person activities and the online activities. So you can build out, if you're in person in Norfolk, you can build out your schedule for everything you want to do in person. And if there's anything online you'd also like to attend, you can add that to your schedule. Those who are offsite, not in Norfolk, can then build out their schedule for these online activities. And so we can see here just a sample event at 7 a.m. It's a welcome meeting. The thing that's great is there's a filter by tracks. So we can have different tracks for our different TIGs: business, higher ed, environment and extraction, etc. We also see the room here. So if it's in a physical location, we can list the room. If it's going to be online, we can list either the Zoom link or we can list the pre-recorded presentation, whether that's on YouTube or Vimeo or another software. If we go ahead and view the session, we'll be able to see more information. So here as an example, I am the speaker. We'd also be able to see some information about the particular session, what we can expect from that. As well as on the right here, we have a session Q&A, a chat, and a community feature, and these are specific to the session. So these are accessible before the session starts, during the session, and after the session. So if there's a session that you missed out on that maybe you just want to check in on the Q&A or the chat, you can come back and access that at any time. So if we'd like to add this session to our agenda, we can go back to the agenda here. Oops. Sorry. Oh, it's already on my agenda. I apologize. I was playing with this earlier. If we'd like to add the session, you can add it to your agenda like so. If you add it to your agenda, you have the ability to add it to the Google Calendar. So just another way to keep it on your calendar. And then here, after we've added it, you'll see the full agendas on the left and my agendas on the right. So any sessions that I add to my agenda will appear here. If you have sessions that are online at a future date, you can also set notifications to remind yourself for those sessions. In the attendees area, you can see the different attendees that are in the SfAA. Again, this is whoever opts to be into the attendee area. You do not have to have your information visible here. And so I can see speaker profiles. I can see who's speaking at which events, as well as a short bio, any other information. And I can then send that person a message. The community area is our great networking area for the online and the in-person portion. So you can add a topic or a social group if you'd like to create your own basically thread for conversation. If you're here to or at the meeting to network with a few people, catch up with colleagues, you can create sort of this chat that's ongoing throughout the meeting. You can also join existing conversations. So if the business TIG wants to sponsor their own conversation, they can do so in this community area. And then again, I just want to highlight the session Q&As. We might have multiple sessions running at the same time. If you can't make one, but you'd like to see some of that discussion that was going on around that session, you'd be able to view the questions that were asked during that session. So that's just a very brief look at the software, but we feel confident that it will accomplish what we need it to. We'll give everybody as much access to the events that we put on, as well as the different types of ways to engage with one another. So with that being said, I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kara. I think this software looks very, very exciting, and I'm anxious to have all my agenda on there and all my contacts as I go through the meeting. So at this point, let's go ahead and open it up for question and answer, and I'll turn it back to Jeremy to moderate that.
Great, thank you everyone. So I'm gonna be moderating, so I'll be reading the questions and I'll direct them to specific panelists as needed, or folks might be able to raise their hand and chime in. And again, I won't be reading names or identifying information from the questions, so just to maintain some level of anonymity. So looks like we've got 2 so far. The first one asks, will presenters be able to participate in 2 sessions like in past years? So I think that maybe Michael or maybe Melissa could answer that. Sounds like an organizational question.
I can answer that. Yes, we still allow for 2 different presentations, but 2 is the limit.
Okay, great. So the second question asks, how will the community day be organized? Will it be all on site or will it be an online component? Mark, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we don't have it all down yet, but the plan is that it's if the hybrid meeting format is what's going to happen, it will be both. So, for example, maybe there's a tour to Fort Monroe. That tour will also be virtual. So most of the events should be available in both formats, in person and hybrid.
Okay, great. The next question asks, does hoova software also handle the actual video sessions? Excuse me. Or is that done on Zoom? And I think Kira has tagged that one for
Yeah,
answering.
so great question. Zoom is integrated into the hoova software. So when you click into the hoova software and see the session, you'll see the Zoom link that's associated with it. So it is on Zoom in a separate you're using Zoom software, but it's integrated into hoova, so you don't have to go through your email and look at a bunch of links. It'll all be there in that agenda for you. The only people that will need to do this differently will be presenters. For technical reasons, it's easier for the presenters to just open their sessions using Zoom, but I am preparing extensive guides both for attendees and presenters to get familiar with the software and understand exactly what their presentations are going to look like and how to prepare for them.
Great, thanks. And we have a couple more questions, 3 more questions that look like might be Kira questions too. So they deal with sort of the technical side of things. So a presenter will create what kind of presentations or the types of presentations that presenters can do. How many people can attend sessions online versus live? And then also whether the virtual presenters can also be on site. In onset sessions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so for the first question, a presenter can create various types of presentations. So we'll be able to facilitate panel presentations. We've updated our Zoom software to be a Zoom webinar license, so it's gonna accommodate a lot more flexibility in the types of presentations. There can be PowerPoint presentations, videos. I see a question here about poster presentations as well. It's gonna have to be facilitated through like either a PowerPoint presentation, or the software also allows document uploads. And with those document uploads, we can have live Q&A and live community discussion. So we're still working through exactly what the sessions will look like, but there is a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of presentations, and we will be providing sort of step-by-step instructions for how to prepare for those. There's no limit to attending the live online sessions because we've upgraded our webinar license. I think the limit is like 150 people, which per session we shouldn't go over except for the larger award ceremonies, which I think our license still accommodates for. And then, is it possible for virtual presenters to be presenting in on-site sessions? So for the hybrid meeting that we've initially proposed, we have proposed where there's going to be some presenters on-site, some presenters on not on-site, online. And so yes, there will be options to do that. We're working through some of the technical aspects, but again, we'll be sending out some information about that. I think that was everything.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's another question about somebody's organizing a roundtable where at least one person will not be able to attend in person, but others might. Is it possible to propose a hybrid virtual and in-person session? So a combination of those. I think you might have already spoken to that, but maybe you just want to address that.
Yeah, so it really just comes down to the individual having the hoova login and being able to access the Zoom presentation if it's going to be a hybrid virtual in-person session. So if the people who are in person at Norfolk are also facilitating it, they would just need to have access to the Zoom that's connecting in those distant participants. So it is a little confusing. There's a lot of moving parts, but yeah, the software works really well to facilitate both the on-site and off-site participants.
And Kira, can you also note that, I mean, people can pre-record presentations too, and include those in a session?
Yes, yeah, the pre-recorded presentations we'll be sending out instructions for, and that's where that semi-live feature is really handy. So in the event we have to push everything online, for those pre-recorded presentations, we can also have that live Q&A and live questioning. So it's still a little bit of engagement without having to go into a full-blown live presentation.
Great, thank you. So the next question asks about the recording of the sessions. Will all the sessions and activities be recorded? And if so, is there an opportunity to opt out of that? And so I think, Rebecca, if you want to answer that one.
Sure. So we're hopeful that we can record many of our online sessions. This is excluding workshops or things that would sort of otherwise be at an additional fee. And then, yes, there is the option to opt out of recording. When we designed the abstract submission form, there's a checkbox that comes up to either say you are willing to be recorded or not. And this sort of models the process that we have used for the SfAA podcast in past years, where you consent to be audio recorded during your session. But we certainly are going to respect presenters' privacy and not record anyone without consent.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. All right, so the next question asks, at this time, has SfAA decided for sure that there will be on-site sessions? And I think that's a Michael question.
Right now, we're hopeful that we'll be able to meet in Norfolk, but we recognize that we have to monitor the situation, the COVID situation, and we've posted some links on our website that you can follow, see the hotel safety and health practices. You can see a link to the Norfolk Convention Tourism Center that's monitoring the situation in Norfolk and Virginia, so our members can get the latest information. When members have registered, we ask them to give us an idea of whether they prefer online, on-site, or they're unsure at this point. So we want to make a decision at the latest. We would make that decision would be early December, but we are monitoring it on a weekly basis and in conversations about it. So it's a very fluid situation, as is most things during this pandemic.
Thank you, Michael. Next question asks, is it possible for papers given at the meetings or that might be given at the meetings to be dropped into a website where they can be accessed by anyone? And I assume that this is also referring to videos that we might be recording of specific sessions. We've had some discussions about this. Who wants to take that one? Maybe Kira, Michael?
I can take it, and Kira, anyone else can add in. As we mentioned, we're going to archive the online sessions on the website. We want to make it available to as many people as possible. We want to make sure that we make it available to members who participated in the meeting. We're exploring options about the extent that we can make it available to others after the meeting, et cetera, protect privacy. We're exploring the possibility of these some on-site recordings being a way to generate revenue for the society, where we would like to generate more revenue, we need more revenue, et cetera. So the recordings will be on the website, and we're exploring different ways that people can access them.
All right, great. So the next question, somebody says, their understanding is that second authors on papers are not required to register for the conference. For virtual sessions, will second authors be allowed to attend their session? How will they do that? Will they be allowed to attend virtually? That kind of thing.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
I can answer it.
Yeah.
In the past, a co-author is not required to register if they're not attending. But if they plan to attend virtually, they would need to register.
All right, so the next question, hopefully that answers that. Next question is, if we opt out of video recording, will it harm our chance of being accepted? I think the answer to that is no. Melissa, do you want to address that one too?
Yeah. Yeah, the answer is no.
Yeah.
That wouldn't harm the chances of being accepted.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the next one is there a deadline for opting for online or on-site presentation and attendance? This person hasn't made up their mind yet. So Michael, do you want to?
I don't know if we've set a deadline for that, but that's something that we need to consider and get back to members on. Does anyone else have any, Mark, if you've had any discussions that
No, yeah, I don't think that's been resolved. I mean, obviously submission deadline is there, but in terms of choosing whether or not you're going to be online, no, I don't, because we may not know until December, so early December, what the situation is going to be, regarding the whole meeting. So, so no, I don't think there's been any resolution yet there.
Okay. All right, so hopefully we'll come out with that information soonish. Another question goes back to the question about participants being in 2 sessions. Asks, do we need to do anything particular to request to do this? Will it be automatic at this point? The website seems to indicate this requires a special request. Maybe Melissa, that's a question for you too.
It's not necessary to send a special request.
Okay.
2 is allowed.
So you would just register for and send in 2 abstracts.
Right. Someone might be a discussant in a session and also give a poster.
Right. Okay. Great. We have a great comment that says, this isn't a question, but I just got to say this is going to be awesome. Adaptation at its finest. Well done, SfAA. Sherry, did you want to respond to that too?
So I tagged that I would respond to that, and I think we want to say thank you. I want to let everybody on the call know, since the meeting canceled in spring 2020, sometimes when something that dramatic happens, you learn to appreciate things and they get a little more precious to you. So we heard from so many members at the time of the last cancel, and ever since then, really, we've been in contact with members all summer. We've been asking people for feedback, and we would really welcome you to put feedback in the Q&A or share it with us afterwards. You may think of other things, and just go ahead and send us an email or call or email any of us would be fine. We'll make sure your question gets to the right person. But we were determined following the cancellation, which was financial and many other kinds of hardship, we were really heartened to hear from all our members who were so supportive and really told us how much they value going to the SfAA every year and how important it is to them. And I think many of us feel the same way personally. So we really appreciate everybody's feedback and support. And I hope you can see tonight that the people here, as well as many others, have been working on this constantly to make it as new, flexible, and suit our culture as possible. So I feel really, really optimistic that's going to be fantastic. And we're coming up upon our traditional, our October 15th deadline, and we really hope that you'll pass the word on to people in your TIGs and in your departments and in your places of work to really come and give the SfAA a try, because I think it's going to be just fabulous. So thank you to everybody who's been working on it so far.
And if I could just add a little bit, if you had a paper presentation or other session that you had submitted or wanted to do at Albuquerque, you can resubmit it here. So please do. You do have to resubmit it though. It's not an automatic, acceptance from Albuquerque. So please do resubmit.
That's good to know. Thanks, Mark. And I wanted to add that you don't have to just put questions in the Q&A just to mix things up. If you want to provide suggestions or any other kind of feedback, we are open to hearing anything you guys you have to throw at us. So please feel free to type comments or give us feedback, give us suggestions if you have any ideas on how we can do this better. That'd be great. We have another
there's a benefit of the format. You can't actually throw anything at us. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I am moderating, right? And then we have another comment that says, ditto, everyone is doing a great job. Thank you, SfAA. So that's great. Good to hear. We have another question for the roundtables and panels. Do all participants have to register by October 15th or just the organizer? I think that's Michael or Melissa there. Maybe Mark.
Just the organizer has to register by the deadline, but everybody needs to be registered before we start working on the preliminary program. If they're not registered, we can't put their name in the program.
Great.
That's in December.
Okay.
But people should register as soon as possible. It would be very helpful for our planning purposes, online, on site, that we have as much information as possible. We're watching the registration numbers very, very carefully. Every Friday it comes out from the SfAA office, and we're looking forward to see how many this week, et cetera. So I would ask all session organizers to encourage the panelists and members to register as soon as possible.
Thanks, Michael. I'm gonna try and do that after this call. So the next question, is the registration fee the same for on-site or virtual? We've had a lot of discussions about this. Michael, do you want to address this one?
Yeah, you could also address it too. You were involved in that. But yeah, it is the same fee for both. When we developed the hybrid, we want it to be very fluid. So you can be online, you can be on-site and online, you can be online from on-site, et cetera. And we believe that and hopeful that we'll have enough content that for the single registration fee, however you choose to participate, that you'll find it there'll be quite a bit of content, and you'll be satisfied with the value of what the meeting will provide. So it was a lot easier, and for other reasons, we made it just one fee.
We have another question about fees a little further down, asking about student fees in particular. They say, let's make sure we put a focus on students. This would be a great way for students to present who traditionally could not afford to go. Is there a different rate for this situation? So I think Michael or Melissa.
Yep.
Or...
Yes, we have lower student fees. We have COVID-related reduced fees, both for students and regular members. So students, if have experienced COVID-related hardships, they don't have to prove that. They could register for $60 versus down from the 80. And we also had this time, as Mark mentioned earlier, to increase global participation. If you're a new international member, the registration fee is $80. So we're trying to increase international participation in the meeting.
Which is really, I mean, as meetings go, that's a bargain.
Yeah. I would also encourage people to, when you have people register, have them see if you can support them, or they can afford to register, become a member for a year, because you can become a member and register for the conference at some very, very reasonable rates. And I know that some colleagues have used travel research money that they would have used to attend on-site conferences to support their students. And so for $120, a student can become a member and register for the conference. So I think that's a great way to use if you have a couple $100 of travel money around that you're not going to use to support students.
So related to this too, there's a question about travel scholarships. Will they be repurposed to support students in some other way, since they're not going towards travel?
Good question.
Has that been thought of?
I don't think we've even discussed that yet.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's why we're holding this town hall. We're reading your questions. There's a lot of details, and almost every week something pops up that we realize we haven't thought about, and we So that's a very helpful question. Thank you. We'll have to do something.
Yeah, agreed. It sounds like a very urgent, important question. We have a bunch of comments about thanking us for the webinar. It's been very helpful. Someone is very impressed with the prep on disability. Very impressed with the capacities of hoova. So yeah, I think we were really focused on making sure that the conference was accessible and that kind of thing. So we're very happy that we're able to provide those things, those features. And then, is attendance still contingent on membership? And I think the answer to that is yes, but Melissa, maybe you could confirm.
And non-members can also register for the meeting. You don't have to be a member.
Right. Sorry.
There's a different rate.
Yeah.
But it's good to be a member.
Okay. I think unless there are any other immediate questions, I'm going to turn it back to Michael and just to do some closing remarks and get some last thoughts from the panel.
Yeah, first, if any of the panelists have any comments, other thoughts they want to bring up, something that occurred to them during the discussion.
No, just, you know, I could, I did not acknowledge and should have, you know, there is a program committee. So there is a fairly large program committee, and everyone has been on the program committee has also been doing a lot of work. We've been holding monthly meetings for a while and trying to get the program together. So I want to shout out to them,
Yep.
Which includes some.
Very good program committee. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this is, you know, I'll state the obvious, it's not normal times.
Yeah.
And every organization is facing challenges. These challenges are opportunities, and I think the challenges brought on by COVID has created an opportunity for the SfAA to move online, begin to create meetings online, and look for ways to integrate online with on-site. You know, this COVID will pass, and then we have a future ahead where we can continue to fine-tune and develop meetings online, on-site, hybrid meetings, etc. It's been a little bit of a silver lining to this cloud that this created the need for us to move forward on this. And so I think we're headed in the right direction. We have a great group of people working on this. And, you know, we still have little challenges ahead, and we hope that our members will participate with us in this journey and help us develop these new meetings and formats. And we need your input and participation. So we hope to see you in Norfolk, online, on site. And please, you know, encourage your colleagues, students, fellow practitioners. Lots of people don't know about the SfAA, and when they hear about it, they realize that they can come talk about their public health, medical, gender, environmental issues, and there's a very good audience there to participate and in those discussions. So reach out to new members. So if nothing else, then I think we'll end our second town hall, and look forward to seeing you all in Norfolk. Thank you.